Hey everyone, Kayla here. Welcome back to another video. So today I want to talk to you about emotional eating, mental hunger. These kind of go hand in hand, most people's questions, so let's talk about those today, okay? So I'm just getting over a cold, though bear with me if you can tell I'm a little stuffed up in my nose, but I just really wanted to talk about this today. So, I get questions from people, and I myself felt this at one point as well. There's a couple of things. So people may say, I am thinking about food all of the time. Food is always on my mind, but I can't tell if I'm just bored eating or if I'm just emotional eating now. Like, how do I know that it's okay to eat? Right? Or people may say, I don't really feel physically hungry, but food is always on my mind, or I'm craving certain foods. So if I'm not physically hungry, then does that mean I'm just bored eating, or I'm just emotionally attached to these foods now? Like, what does this mean? Or I'm just at home all day and I feel like the food in the pantry just calls my name constantly, and I can't stay at home or have certain foods in my cupboard because, I'll just binge on them, or I'll just be bored eating, or I'll just be emotionally eating if I get stressed out because I work from home or I do school from home, and so I'm just bored eating or stress eating or anxious eating or whatever. Things like these. So that's not all of it, obviously, but those are just some common ones that I hear. People want to reason with their body, like, oh, if I'm not completely starving and ravenous and have pain in my stomach, or my stomach is grumbling, then I must just be stress eating, or, I don't have a good enough reason to eat a full meal or a snack or whatever, just food in general. If I eat outside of these certain times of the day, then I'm just bored eating or stress eating, when in fact you need that food. If you're thinking about that food and food is just always on your mind throughout the day, then that means you're hungry. Mental hunger, which is just thinking about food constantly, craving certain foods, specific foods like savory foods or sugary foods. You just eat and you're still thinking about food. That kind of mental hunger, that is legit hunger, just as physical hunger. So I think I've talked about this in the past, but there's different kinds of hunger. There's physical hunger and there's mental hunger. So this doesn't mean that you're just an emotional eater and that you don't have an excuse to eat because you don't have physical hunger, or the typical signs of hunger that people think is the only way to feel hunger. Like, there's different ways to feel hunger. And it's not that you're just an emotional eater or you have binge eating disorder now. When you're coming from a restrictive diet, a low-calorie diet, a full-blown eating disorder, whatever, whether for 6 months or years and years, 10, 20 years, doesn't matter. If you're coming from a past of restriction or not eating enough, having extreme food rules, whatever, sometimes, not always, there's different people in different spectrums. Some people, though, their body actually turns off their appetite. And so, because physical hunger costs a lot of energy to produce, so when there's not enough energy, carbs, fats, sugars coming in, you're in a malnourished state from starvation, then, the last thing the body wants to do is create physical hunger, because then it's going to exert too much energy, and it's already in an energy deficit. So that's why mental hunger doesn't cost as much energy to produce. So it's going to cause you to be thinking about food all the time, but you're not going to be physically hungry. So it's going to be a confusing thing, and people think, oh, I'm not really hungry, I don't deserve to eat because I'm not physically hungry, because that's what we've come to understand as the only way to be hungry, right? But this, in fact, is to be listened to. So, every craving, there's a reason why your body is asking for specific foods, whether your mind has come up with all these reasons or learned about all these reasons of why it's bad for you. But, if your body is strongly craving those foods, the only way to overcome that strong mental hunger, the constant mental hunger, or even the feeling of when you're feeling like you just want to eat all the time when you're at home, or certain foods are in your cupboard that you're afraid of, that you feel out of control around. It's not that you're an emotional eater, it's that your body needs those foods for a pretty good reason, probably, especially calorically dense foods. the body knows what it's doing when it's asking for calorically rich foods and processed foods, because they're easy to digest, they're pre-digested for your body. So that's why your body is sending cravings for those, like fatty, starchy, sugary foods, because that's gonna replenish for the energy deficit that you're coming from. This isn't emotional eating. So yeah, like I was saying, the only way to beat this, to overcome this constant draw to, food, this extreme draw to food, this feeling of you feel out of control around food and you just feel like mentally you're thinking about food all the time, or, emotionally attached to food all the time, is to stop restricting and to feed your body consistently of that food. And I know I say that all the time, but, a lot of people think that when they go into recovery that the eating disorder, or whatever you want to call it, that side of you that causes you to restrict and overexercise and whatever, it wants you to think and come up with rationalizations of why you're so drawn to food and why you shouldn't be drawn to the food, and there's something wrong with you if you're thinking about food all the time, or if you're craving specific foods. So it must be emotional eating because that's bad, you're not supposed to do that. But that's not true. Your body is doing it for a specific reason. And so the best thing you can do is to listen to that and not feel guilty or shameful around feeling like you're thinking about food all the time. And that's a big part of recovery, right? Is to be able to get rid of that. So food's not on your mind all of the time, right? So you can get your life back and be present in your life again without food being the number one thing you're thinking about. And it does happen. I promise you, it happens. I see it time and time again with my clients. It happened with me, obviously. That's why I'm doing this, because I thought that it could never happen. I thought that I was just a stress eater and that I had to always control myself around food, and that it was going to be this lifelong battle of having to be on a diet, because I would just eat when I was bored, and that, I would binge when I'd be home all day. I just keep going back to the pantry and back to the pantry and back for more and back for more. That doesn't happen anymore. And I work from home, and, the food isn't calling my name. It's just I eat when I'm hungry. I eat the foods that I want without question. And then I'm not thinking about food all the time, and I don't feel like I'm an emotional eater. Like, hunger may fluctuate, but I don't question that. It's just, it is what it is, right? That's how it should be. That's just normal eating. And I want you to get to that place too. I don't want you to think that you're an emotional eater. So I just want to say again, if you're coming from a past of restriction, whether, even 3 months, 6 months, or, couple years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or even longer, you're not an emotional eater, okay? You deserve to eat, and whether you're underweight or you're an overshoot weight, whatever you want to call it, you still deserve to eat. You're not becoming an emotional eater. If you are thinking about food and you're constantly thinking about food, then that's a sign that your body needs more food, okay? Just remember that you are coming from a past of restriction or energy deficit, and all your body is trying to do is to make up for that. It really is that simple. We're trying to overcomplicate this stuff with nutrition and do this, do that. Really just go within, and it gets easier to listen. But, if you're having that mental hunger, that is extreme hunger, just like physical hunger. So if you think, oh, I don't have extreme hunger because I don't have that physical hunger, if you're thinking about food, or, thinking about the foods that you wish you could eat but you haven't been able to eat, that's extreme hunger. That's mental hunger, and it's not emotional eating, okay? So I hope that clears things up. So yeah, when you become like this normal eater again, intuitive, I just say normal, right? To stay away from labels, getting back to that childlike hunger state, or whenever you were before the dieting, or even if you started as a kid and you can't even remember, you can still get back to this place of being a normal eater. And you'll see that as a normal eater, normal eaters don't have the draw to be constantly thinking about food, constantly planning, plotting, calculating, tracking, thinking of researching about food and nutrition and blah, blah, blah. No, like, or if they're an emotional eater, or if are they eating if they're stressed, are they eating if they're anxious, oh, are they sad, are they just eating, oh, are they just bored, are they just eating because they're bored, you know, all of these things and thoughts that doesn't really cross your mind. It's just, oh, am I hungry? Oh, okay, I need to eat. Let me have something that I know I like. Maybe you're having a specific craving, maybe not. You don't really question it, you don't really overthink it, and you go eat. And then you stop when you're full, and you go on from the meal not continuing to think about food. You feel fine because your digestion and metabolism has, you know, balanced out and healed. And yeah, normal eaters don't think they're emotional eaters. And, you know, I don't want to deny that perhaps there could be emotional eaters, because I've seen people that do eat more than their body's asking for. And here's the difference, and I've talked about this before. If your body is asking you to stop eating, it's obviously showing that it's full, and the person continues to eat because they're looking for stimulation or to fill a void because they're going through grief, or they're really stressed and they just don't want to deal with certain things in life, or, you know, that's the only way they can receive pleasure and they're pleasure addicts, whatever, then yeah, they're gonna ignore their body's cues that it doesn't want any more food, and they can emotionally eat. But, you know, I just don't want to devoid that because there are people out there. But you, if you're on my channel, if you're coming from a past of any kind of diet, any kind of restriction, any kind of low-calorie diet, any kind of over-exercise regime, and you're facing any of the symptoms that I've talked about or that you've heard about with malnourishment, don't have your period, your hair's falling out, you know, bloating, digestive problems, hormone imbalance, low libido, you know, extreme hunger, mental hunger, physical hunger, all of these things. You're not going to become an emotional eater, and you're not an emotional eater right now. You are just doing what your body is designed to do, and that is to ask for food when it knows it needs more, when it knows it's in an abundant environment again. It's going to ask for a lot more food. It knows it's safe-ish. It's gonna want to binge. It's gonna want to just have the primary focus on getting food. You thinking about it all the time. It's gonna want to rest a lot to take in that energy and put it towards healing and replenishing and restoring. And yeah, your body has it handled. It really does. It's a freaking intelligent machine, but better than a machine. It's like so smart. We don't even understand how to replicate a human body, but yet we think we can control it. Backwards. But you get what I'm saying? Anyways, to sum it up, long story short, I think that I could say this in a lot fewer words than I do. I just want to cover most of what I can, probably still have missed stuff, but really, you're not an emotional eater, okay? Even if you feel yourself in recovery because you're coming from a past of a lot of stress, overexercise is stressful, malnourishment from dieting is stressful, or low calories and in general is stressful on the body. Doesn't mean you're an emotional eater in recovery because you're already in a stressed out body and mind. No, like, you need this. So even if emotional eating is real or not, like, whatever, in recovery, if you're emotional eating, then keep emotional eating, because you know, I don't even want to call it that, because you just need to eat. You know, now we can overcomplicate it by saying that, but you need to give yourself permission to eat all of the foods that you crave, and things will get better and balance out, and you'll be able to be at home or be out and about and not have food calling your name and have the extreme mental hunger all the time, or feel the need to emotional eat. That's not even gonna be in your life. Like, Okay, so what about later in your recovery, your hunger signals are balancing out, and what if you're just super happy and you're enjoying life and you just feel like you want an ice cream, a Blizzard from Dairy Queen? I like those. Or somewhere, right? Or you're out with someone and they want an ice cream and you're like, you know, I'm not really that hungry, but you know, I'm having a good time. It's summer, even winter. Sometimes ice cream is the best in winter. I want to have an ice cream. Is that bad if you have that? Even if you don't have mental or physical hunger necessarily, but you kind of want it just 'cause? Is that bad? No, I do that all the time. So it's just getting away from these labels of good or bad or regimens or intuitive eating even. That's why I like to say normal rather than intuitive, because even intuitive eating has some rules and guidelines and that you have to abide by, or else you're doing it wrong. So being a normal eater, none of this stuff matters. It doesn't, like, who freaking cares if it's emotional eating or not? Like, if you want to do something, do it. If it doesn't make you feel good necessarily and you don't want to do it, probably wouldn't want to do it. So if you don't want to do something, don't do it, right? So let's just get away from all of these labels and terms and just get back to normalcy and just doing what you want within reason, right? You want to stick to your morals and values, okay? But with eating and stuff, like, what morality does food have? You're not hurting anyone, and if you're following your body, you're not hurting yourself. I really just don't have anything more to say than that. So yeah, with that, I think I'll wrap it up there. I hope this video has helped you. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.